All right, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today we're going to celebrate the joy of learning. We're going to talk about how we can develop social and emotional intelligence in young children. We're going to talk about 7 skills for school success specifically. So let's get started. What are the 7 skills for school success? Now, the information that I'm giving you today actually comes from a book that Dr. Pam Schiller wrote. So I want to give her credit for that. She's the mastermind behind this information. She also happens to be the senior author of all the Frog Street curriculums. And so a lot of the information I'm talking about today is just naturally embedded in our curriculums. But I know that that they're going to put in the chat box this information in case you did want to look at more information on this topic. But it is 7 skills for school success, activities to develop social and emotional intelligence. It is a Griffin House book. I'm sure you could get it at Amazon as well. And lots of great information in there. But hopefully I'm going to cover so much of that today that you'll be able to leave here with some great ideas. All right, a little bit about me. I'm Jody Martin. I'm the content manager at Frog Street. And so what that means is I write curriculum, I write trainings, I do trainings like I am today. I've been in the industry for it's like 38 years now in August, so most of my adult life. I was a preschool teacher, a center director, VP of education for a company. So been through all the different ranks there, spent a lot of time. My passion is curriculum development and training. And so I'm happy today to be here to share tips and tricks for you in making your classroom as successful as you can. And we know that all children need social and emotional skills so that they can be successful in school and really in life. And so hopefully today you will recognize the importance of that. And I wish what I could tell my younger self was that when I was dealing with challenging behavior and teaching children manners and how to get along and those kinds of things, that I really was still teaching, even though sometimes it felt like it was taking away from my lessons, that was the most important teaching I was doing, is setting those foundational social emotional skills. We're going to discover that learning happens when children can understand and regulate and control their emotions and behaviors. And I really want to address those 7 essential skills, and I'm just going to really lay out the foundation of those so that that is helping with school success. And we're going to look at the definition characteristics of each of those 7 skills, and I'm going to give you ideas on how you can teach those skills in your classroom. And then just really identify strategies that you can use with the children to kind of boost those social emotional skills. So I'm going to ask the very first poll question here. So do you feel like it is easy to teach children social emotional skills? How many of you agree with that? It's easy. Ooh, it's neck and neck, yes and no here. Still a little bit more no's on that one. So hopefully if the poll ends up with more no's that it's easy to teach, then today you'll leave with some information and some strategies that might make it easier for you to teach social emotional skills. So it looks like we have 58% that thought it isn't easy and 42 that thought that it was pretty easy. So we will go ahead and keep moving. All right. So, the importance of social emotional development. In order to talk about that, I really want to define what is social intelligence. And social intelligence is children are able to assess the feelings of others. And they can also relate to those feelings and motives and concerns of others. They read and respond to those social cues, that body language when a friend is basically saying, stop that, and they can negotiate and resolve conflicts. And that's having social intelligence. As you can imagine, a lot of that would really behoove us in the business world as well. And emotional intelligence is being able to identify and label feelings or express those feelings, assess the intensity of our feelings, manage the feelings, delay gratification, and we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. Control our impulses, have that self-regulation, and those are some of the things that emotional intelligence includes. So you look at the full package, and there's a lot going on here to be helping children navigate. And the sooner we do that in the early years, then the better off they'll be for life. Adults that can't self-regulate, it's not really pretty. So we want to help children. I think self-regulation is probably the best gift that you could give a child. Okay, so let's get to some of the specifics on that. So we want to help children understand and control emotions and behaviors. That's one of the very basic things that we want to do in early childhood education. And we spend a lot of time doing that. And as I said earlier, it is a great gift to give them, to have that foundation. It'll behoove them for the rest of their lives. So self-regulation is defined as self-control. It involves a child's capacity for controlling their emotions and interacting in positive ways with their peers, avoiding inappropriate or aggressive actions, and becoming an autonomous learner. And there's an author named William DeMaio, and I've quoted, or I've referenced him here. He's written a book called, looking on my bookshelf here, When Nothing Else Works. And I refer to him a lot for challenging behaviors, but that is his definition of self-regulation. Now, in the Frog Street curriculum, we want to help children self-regulate. And so we use the Conscious Discipline program. Conscious Discipline is actually embedded in our curriculum. So every day we want teachers and children to start the day the brain smart way. And whether you're using Frog Street curriculum or any other curriculum, you can use this little routine, and it really sets the tone for the rest of the day. This is Dr. Becky Bailey. She is the founder of Conscious Discipline, and she says that self-regulation is the key to school readiness, and really more powerful than IQ as a predictor of future academic achievement or success. And I realized that when I was a center director, and I would take children before and after school to the elementary buildings. And at the beginning of the year, I always wanted to meet the principal and the receptionist, because I was delivering children to this school and dropping them off, and I wanted to know who I was dropping them off to and have that partnership. And I would like to ask them if I can talk with the kindergarten teacher about what we should be teaching children to have them ready. Sometimes I could talk to them, sometimes I just talk to the principal. But this is what they told me way back in many moons ago when I was a center director. And I was younger then, and I really, wasn't quite sure. I didn't have a comprehensive curriculum to follow. So my questions were, what do I need to make sure my preschool teachers are teaching? The children need to know their address, their phone number, how to spell their name, count to 30. What is it that we need to be teaching? And here's what they told me. If children can separate from their parents easily, if they can take instruction from an adult other than their parent, and if they can collaborate, cooperate, share, work together, they can teach them anything. But if they have to spend all of their time teaching those foundational social emotional skills, then they can't get to their lessons. So they said, please have your teachers teach those social emotional skills. And once again, I didn't have a comprehensive curriculum. I didn't even know about state standards back in the 80s. So it was like, well, what am I going to be teaching here? But that's kept with me all these years, and now I understand what they meant. We also know that children need a predictable and consistent environment. When they have that, it becomes a routine, and a routine is a pattern, and we know that the brain thrives on patterns. So we want to make sure that we offer that consistent, predictable routine. And I'm sure you all have a schedule, a daily schedule that you follow. But what we know is if we have a consistent, predictable routine, becomes a pattern, if children are more comfortable. And let's face it, us adults are more comfortable when we have our routine. Don't mess with our outdoor time or change our lunch period or whatever, because we have the whole day planned, right? But that helps optimal development. That makes them comfortable, and then that's when they can really learn. So that is what's important, to make sure we start the day the brain smart way. And this is the 4-part routine. Like I said, no matter what curriculum you're using, you can do this 4-part routine. And I'm guessing that you do this, some of it maybe, or throughout the day. It may only take 8 to 10 minutes in the morning, but you always want to start by uniting the children. You bring them together for a greeting circle or a circle time, and you really want to get everybody on the same page, right? And the way to do that is through singing and moving. Now, singing and moving is so good because when we sing, we bring in oxygen. When we bring in oxygen, it increases our endorphins. You guys know endorphins that's your feel-good brain chemical, right? We all want to feel happier. So you want to start the day that happy way. But also endorphins are a memory fixative, but they also protect neurons. And when you're a brain architect and you're helping children wire at the most fertile windows of opportunity, you don't want anything to go wrong with that brain wiring. And if children have stress chemicals, which we all do at some point in time, right? That washes out brain synapses. So the endorphins are there to protect. So we want to sing, and movement is like Miracle-Gro for the brain because you're bringing in more oxygen. So if you sing and move with children first thing in the morning, you're bringing in the oxygen, they're releasing endorphins, they're going to feel better, it's going to release tension, it's going to protect their neurons. It's a win for everyone. And it's good for us adults too, right? The second thing you want to do is help children know how to calm themselves, breathing, right? We want to disengage the stress response. Things stress children out, right? They may come to us stressed. We also want to connect with children or help them connect with each other, because when we feel connected, we feel safe and secure and important and included. And all those are great things to have to feel part of the school family. And so you want to do a little connection activity, and a connection activity is where you look at a child directly, eye contact, you're physically present, you are fully present, there's some element of touch, and it's joyful and playful. And so that's a true connection. And then the last thing is you want to encourage children to commit to following some rules, very simple rules, depending on the age that you're working with. It might be use listening ears. It might be use walking feet or gentle touches or kind words. Those are promises or commitments or agreements that children can commit to each day. And if you follow this 4-part routine, then you're going to set the tone for the day and provide that social emotional foundation that I was talking about a little bit earlier. All right, so because singing and moving is so good for everyone, I'm going to play a video here, and I encourage you to stand up and sing and move to this song. I'm going to sit in the chair and do the motion so you can see me, but please join with me and Dawn Monopoly, one of my faves, to Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes.
Healthy music for a child's heart, body, and mind.
Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes. From the award-winning CD, Here We Go Loop-De-Loo, by The Learning Station.
Well, you knock, 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 and I say come in. You open the door and you take a big spin. Slap your heels, then you slap your knees. Why don't you do the head and shoulders with me? Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. And eyes and ears and mouth and nose. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Second verse is the same as the first. Well, you knock, 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 and I say come in. You open the door and you take a big spin. Slap your heels and you slap your knees. Why don't you do the head and shoulders with me? Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. And eyes and ears and mouth and nose. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. All right, we're going to try some new body parts this time, and we're going to start off very slowly. Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet. Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet. And thighs and rears and lips and teeth. Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet. Will you knock, 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 and I say come in. You open the door and you take a big spin. Slap your heels, then you slap your knees. Why don't you do the neck and elbows with me? Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet. Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet. And thighs and rears and lips and teeth. Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet. One more time, well you knock, 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 and I say come in. You open the door and you take a big spin. Slap your heels, then you slap your knees. Why don't you do the neck and elbows with me? Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet. Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet. And thighs and rears and lips and teeth. Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet. Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet. Neck, elbows, hips and feet, hips and feet.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, hopefully you brought in some oxygen. Your endorphins are flowing. You're going to have that memory fixative to help you remember all the things I'm going to talk about today. All right. And so the second part of that routine was calming strategies. And this is where we want to teach children to inhale and exhale. And they don't always understand inhale and exhale. But if you said, open your pizza box, smell that yummy pizza, but it's too hot, you need to blow. That would be inhaling and exhaling. And you would do that 3 times. Inhale the pizza and blow on it. Okay. You can see on my screen, there's some other calming strategies. The star is smile, take a deep breath and relax. Let's do that one together. Ready? Smile. Take a deep breath. Relax. Smile. Take a deep breath and relax. And one more time. Smile. Take a deep breath. Relax. Now you want to repeat it 3 times. That takes that much time to get enough oxygen in to get the endorphins flowing. So that is the second part of the routine. The third part of the routine is where we connect. And whether you're connecting individually with the children or you're helping children connect with each other throughout the day, it's a really important step to take. So this is an example of a teacher individually connecting with the child, and I want you to just look at his face at the very end.
Twinkle, twinkle, little stars, what a wonderful child you are, with bright eyes and nice round cheeks, talented person from head to feet. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, what a wonderful child you are. You did it!
The very end, he is just so thrilled that he had that 30 seconds of individual time with his teacher. And had he maybe started out having a bad day or sad, that would have just turned it around for him. So try to remember to make that connection and help children connect with each other. All right. And this is another way that you connect with children. You can ask them when they first walk in, how would they like to be greeted each day? Would they like a high five, a hug, a fist bump, or maybe just a wave? And it only takes a few seconds, but you've made that direct eye contact. You're fully present. There's some element of touch there, and it's joyful and playful. Here's another idea. Some of my colleagues out of California made this for me. And you can make yourself a little apron. You can buy the apron at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and then find some little icons that you Velcro on. And these are little wooden ones, but I know they make foam ones too. And then the children can run up to you and point to an icon and decide how they would like to be greeted. And you can make up your own hand motions with this. So for example, a star might be fist bump, shooting star. The butterfly might be taking their thumbs and making a butterfly motion. The frog could be hop, hop, fist bump. And then the heart over here would just be a hug. And so this makes it easy for you because you're wearing the apron and then they come and come over to you to be greeted. So once again, it's the connection, a really quick connection with every child each day. All right. The last one is making those rules and asking children to commit to them. And I'm sure you already have rules in your classroom. You want them to be, not too many of them, not too complicated, and important to check in throughout the day to see how they're doing. And at the end of the day, if they committed to using listening ears that day, how did we do? And maybe you need to review what listening ears means. This is how we teach self-regulation. And remember, when children can self-regulate and they have that self-control, then they can learn, right? They're ready to learn. All right. So those are the 4-part routine. That's just a really easy 8 to 10 minutes of your day that you can devote each and every day. That's fun and so very important for building those foundational social emotional skills. All right, so let's get into the 7 essential skills for school success. You can see here there's confidence, curiosity, intentionality, that self-control, relationships and relating to others, cooperation, and communication. And I'm going to talk about each of these individually as well. But I want to ask this question. So if I can have the second poll. So which of these skills do you feel the least confident about teaching right now? Is it confidence? Is it curiosity, intentionality, relationships, or cooperation? You're least confident about teaching the skill for this this concept. Give you a little bit of time here to everybody vote. All right, it's looking like intentionality is the forerunner here by a long shot. But it looks like about 65% of you feel like intentionality is the one that you're least likely to feel confident about. And right behind that is confidence and cooperation. So let's talk then about how you can teach those skills. So let's talk about confidence first. Confidence is a feeling of emotional security that really results from faith in oneself or the belief that you can do something well or succeed at something. So a child shows confidence. This is how you know whether they're confident or not, is when they identify problems and they try to find solutions to them. They maybe are really persistent and determined to get things done, which sometimes I know is a little frustrating for us, but think about it in a positive way. It's confidence. They have a positive attitude. They really know how to frame things in that positive light. They listen attentively. They're really interested and want to learn from you. And on the flip side, you're going to seek help when they need it. They're confident about coming to you and saying, hey, I can't do this. I really need some help. So I want to just talk about some things that you can do to, here's whether you think you can or can't, you're usually right, Henry Ford. So that kind of goes along with confidence there. But what can you do to boost a child's confidence? Well, you can define what that means by describing familiar characters who are confident, like the Itsy Bitsy Spider. I have a whole list of books here I was going to put, but type in the chat box if you can think of a book that shows children who are confident or characters who are confident. How about reading A Chair for My Mother? And I know some of these are classics that you all have read or have in your libraries. Amazing Grace, Caps for Sale, The Doorbell Rang, Harold and the Purple Crayon, a favorite of my children when they were little, Imogene's Antlers. There's a Little Engine That Could, that's the famous one. And then Swimmy and Where the Wild Things Are. I mean, those are just a few that I'm sure you've read before, or maybe you even have, that teach, have characters who are confident, so that can be role models for children. You can create an I did it spot by allowing children to draw a picture of when they've mastered something or when they tried something for the first time and they did it. So call it the I did it corner or table or wherever you can find to put that. Practice problem solving and motivate children to tackle new challenges. You have to give children child-sized problems to solve, right? And that's great practice to do that. And then encourage them to give you suggestions or solutions. Sometimes I know I do this, you just want to fix it for them, right? Answer it for them. And the more we can just pause and give them a minute, a lot of times they'll come up with it. And I see lots of great things in the chat box that you guys are sharing. So I think that's wonderful. You're going to come away with even more ideas than I'm giving you. So thank you for that. Okay, so how can you find out if children, what kind of questions you can ask to kind of reflect on confidence for children? You can ask them, how do you feel when you're able to solve a problem? Does that make you feel really good? Are you proud of yourself? What do you do when something's too difficult? Do you ask for help? Are you okay with going to an adult and asking for help? What are some examples of confidence? Ask them to give you some examples of when they feel confident. All right, curiosity. This is a really interesting one. It's a really intense desire to know and understand and inquire and investigate or seek after knowledge about something or someone. And this is when you get all the why questions, which I know can drive us nuts sometimes. But think of it as this child is really curious. And they're going to explore new materials. They're going to ask lots of questions, but they're going to identify problems and they're going to try to seek those solutions. And those are all really good things to come out of children being curious. Curiosity is the wick in the candle of learning, for sure. So what can you do to boost the child's curiosity skills? You can use I wonder statements or what if questions to really get them thinking. You can provide materials like gears and pulleys and rocks and seeds and all sorts of nature items, or provide tools for them to explore some of those nature items like magnifying glasses and funnels and prisms and scales. You can also read books with cause and effect storylines, such as Rosie's Walk or If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And also, I want to just tell you about a study that Bruce Perry did about curiosity. And he talks about curiosity drives exploration and results in discovery. And it's a cycle of sorts. And I'm going to tell you this cycle. And it's from Bruce Perry 2001, if you wanted to Google it and see this chart. But try to follow along with me here. I'm going to give you a lot of kind of information. Curiosity results in exploration. Exploration results in discovery. Discovery results in pleasure. And pleasure results in repetition. And we know that repetition results in mastery, right? Experience wires the brain and repetition strengthens the wiring, right? Mastery results in having new skills. And those new skills result in being confident, right? Confidence results in having good self-esteem. And then self-esteem results in a sense of security. And then sense of security results in more exploration. So that's the cycle. So curiosity really is that wick in the candle of learning, right? Okay. So what are the kind of questions you can ask children to encourage them to think about curiosity? You might say, what do you do when you see something that you've never seen before? What do you think about that? Or what is the most interesting thing you have seen or done recently? You know, sometimes we ask children not open-ended questions, right? But that's a great open-ended question. And, you know, just encouraging parents to ask those kinds of questions. Or how do you feel when you learn or discover something that you didn't know before? And then do you share the finding with someone else? Are you really excited to share that finding? All right. Now, intentionality, and this is one of the concepts that a lot of you said you were least confident about teaching, but I bet you do it already. Maybe you just didn't know that that's what's called intentionality. But acting with intention on a course of action or an aim that one intends to follow, a plan to achieve or setting a goal. And so when children are being intentional, they make really thoughtful choices. They understand the difference between their thoughts and taking action, and they finish activities and projects because they're determined, right? They have a goal in mind and they want to get to it. They demonstrate that persistence, and I know sometimes that's one of those things that we feel sometimes children are difficult or challenging because they're very persistent, but that's really a great skill to have, right? Especially later on in the business world and the adult world. And they act with confidence when they're intentional. They're like, I can do that. I'm going to try that. I'm not afraid. I'll take that risk. And even if they can't do it, they still try it, right? And so that's being intentional. And you teach intentionally. You all have a goal in mind. You know the milestones that you want to achieve for your group of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5-year-olds. And you create a lesson plan with intentionally, purposefully planning activities where children can learn certain skills. And children play intentionally. I'm going to go over to the block area and I'm building a bridge because I saw a bridge on TV last night or in the book that we read. All right. So, right intention is to the actions of a man what the soul is to the body or the root is to a tree. So, what can you do to boost intentionality skills? You can allow time for focusing and reflecting on what children have learned. So many times we just want to teach it and we don't think about it. In Frog Street, we do a closing circle every day, and that's where we review what we learned that day. We might review vocabulary words or concepts that we learned in math, or what was our agreement today that we were going to use walking feet. How do we do with that today, right? We also read stories that feature characters who make intentional choices. And one that I was thinking of was Flower Garden by Eve Bunting. And that's a story about a little girl that she plans a colorful birthday surprise for her mom, and they make a flower garden and they shop for a pot, a flower pot, and the flowers, and they were very intentional about that. And so you probably read a lot of stories where there's intentionality in it. We just didn't frame it that way, or we didn't think about it that way. But you can also discuss the difference between what we do and what is the right thing to do. And what is the right thing to do is we're going to intentionally do that. Offering choices so children can practice making thoughtful decisions helps with them being more intentional. So what are some questions that you might ask children to kind of find out if they're, we call these reflect questions, where you're trying to find out if children have learned a concept that you taught. You might say to them, how do you choose which toy that you want to play with? What goes into that? And they may say, well, I really wanted to play with the toy that has wheels because I want it to drive fast and I want to push it down the ramp and make it go. And that's an intentional practice that they're doing, right? How do you decide what you want to do when you go outside? Do you go to the climber? Are you going to go to the swings? Are you going to play in the grass and play soccer? Or are you going to read a book under the shade tree? What are you going to do when you go outside? What do you think about before you select your clothes in the morning? Right? And that's an interesting one. Maybe they don't select their own clothes, but what do you think about when you're going to put your jacket on? I'm going to be warm when I'm outside, or I decided not to wear a jacket. How might that go? All right. Self-control. Now that is restraint that's exercised over one's impulses, emotions, or desires. And obviously you can see that these definitions are like official definitions out of Merriam-Webster dictionary or one of those resources, but just to kind of give it kind of a focus. But a child's going to show self-control when, for example, they delay gratification, they express their emotions, they follow rules that you've set out. They respect boundaries of others. And I have a little story, and you may have heard of the marshmallow experiment before. And this is a famous research study that they did to see what the long-term benefit of 4-year-olds ability to delay gratification. So what they did is they gave each child one marshmallow and said, if you want, you can eat this one marshmallow right now, or you can wait, and I'm going to go in another room because I need to go and run an errand. But when I get back, then you can have 2 marshmallows. It's your choice, right? So these researchers left the room, and there were 2 different groups. Group A took the 1 marshmallow and ate it right away. And Group B waited because they thought, I want that other marshmallow. And what they found is when they followed the progress of each of these groups through adolescence, that the children who waited were more positive, they were self-motivated, persistent, they were able to delay gratification in their pursuit of goals. And all those things lead to higher paying jobs, making, more enduring relationships, and better general health. And then the group that didn't delay gratification, they tended to be maybe a little more troubled. They were indecisive, less confident in themselves. And it really just shows that self-control is important for lifelong learners. And that was a study done by Scholda, Mish, and Peak. So if you wanted to learn more about, I suppose if you just Googled the marshmallow experiment, that would come up. All right. Discipline and concentration are a matter of being interested. So what can you do to boost a child's self-control skills? You can talk to them about handling their emotions, teach stress management, which are the calming strategies that we talked about a little bit earlier. Use clear and simple rules in the classroom. And, if you're going to create rules, it really is helpful to show a picture of children actually using walking feet or listening to a story or being using gentle touches, and showing. You can see little icons here that we have, but you can take a picture of your children actually doing that and create the little poster. Provide experiences that teach children patience, and then using, of course, natural and logical consequences for any kind of inappropriate behaviors helps with the self-control. And that whole little 4-part routine that I went over at the very beginning of our session is to teach self-control. So how can you reflect on self-control? By asking children questions that encourage them to think about it. You might ask them, how does breaking a toy hurt other people? What happens when a toy gets broken? What happens when you do something you aren't supposed to do? How do you feel about that? And can you think of a time that you wanted to hit someone, but you used your words instead? And really start some conversation. And sometimes these conversations are going to take place privately. In my schools used an idea called the friendship table or the talk it over area. And that was a designated little table or a rug somewhere in the classroom where children can go and work on conflict resolution. They could go and talk about what happened when they took the truck from the other, how they felt about that. And of course, as a teacher, you need to facilitate that, at least initially, and model it for them in hopes that eventually they can learn to self-regulate and go to the talk it over area or the friendship table on their own and work out. Obviously the littlest ones won't, but maybe 3.5 to 5-year-olds could certainly do that. And elementary age children could definitely do that. All right, so relationship or relating to others. So this is defined as to understand and like or have sympathy for others. That's a very simple definition of it. There's a lot more to it, but a child really shows skills in relating to others when they can identify and appropriately express their own feelings, but they can also assess the feelings of others. And they can read and respond to social cues. They can negotiate and resolve conflicts, like I mentioned, the little talk it over area or the friendship table, and they can act cooperatively. And so a friend is someone who knows the song in your heart and can sing it to when you have forgotten the words. And don't we all need somebody like that in our lives, right? So what can you do to help boost relationship skills among the children that you teach? Of course, and I'm sure you do this, encourage them to talk about their feelings. That is so important. I think we take that for granted sometimes, that it's just part of the curriculum, but really it is a great skill for them to be able to have. Read books about friendship. I'm sure there's some books that you know about friendship that you could put in the chat to share with each other. I don't have a list of them here for you, but I've also heard of creating a friendship poster. And the poster is, what would it look like to be a friend? What is it that we need to do to be a friend? And you could, take pictures of children doing kind things for each other. You can, create very simple statements about what it is to be a friend, to help each other and to say kind things and compliment. And then, obviously what it wouldn't be to, and you might not want to post that. You can talk about what it wouldn't look like to be a good friend, but then post what it would look like to be a good friend. It's also great to acknowledge children when they've been kind to each other, and acknowledge it openly in front of the other children. And then watch for those teachable moments where you can discuss empathy. One of the things that we do in the Frog Street curriculum is to build empathy, is we have the absent child welcome back ritual. And that is during your little greeting circle time. If there's a child that's absent, we want to recognize that. We want to say, boys and girls, our friend Timmy isn't here today. But even when Timmy's not here, we think about him and we care about him. And so we want to wish him well. And there's a little song called the Wish You Well song. It goes to the tune of Farmer in the Dell. Or you can just say, we wish you well, Timmy. And now when Timmy comes back the next day, you want to maybe take a little puppet. We have, like, you see my little Fanny puppet behind me. And the saying goes, Timmy, you were gone and you were missed. Where would you like your welcome back kiss? And Timmy says the elbow. So he gets kissed on the elbow. Now he feels reconnected, part of the school family again. And that's a great way to help build that empathy in children. I had a teacher tell me the other day that her daughter was in the 4-year-old room and she was homesick with her daughter. And her daughter said, Mommy, I hope my friends are singing about me today, because she remembered that when her friends were absent, that the group of children would sing about them and care about them and think about them. So it really does matter. They get it. They do. We want to teach children to resolve the conflicts, once again, the talk it over area, and then just catch them being kind and acknowledge that. All right, so how can you reflect on children and ask them and questions that encourage them to think about their friendships and their relationships? Ask them what it means to be a friend, and create that poster based on that. How do you show your friends that you care about them? What are some of the things that you do? And what should you do when a friend gets hurt? And really talk about these things. That right there is just building that empathy. All right. Now, communication is the act or the process of using words, sounds, signs, or behaviors to express or exchange information, or to express your ideas and thoughts and feelings to someone else. And, a child shows their ability to communicate when they express their thoughts clearly, or when they solicit help from adults. They're basically saying, hey, I need help with this because I can't figure it out, right? And they use their words to resolve conflict. Once again, you've modeled it, you've facilitated it, and we've given them those words so they know how to work out a conflict. They're also children who will offer information during a group discussion. They feel confident in doing those communications. And I have an example of communication. Let me get to my little page here. So we know that children who are talked to have a bigger vocabulary, right? So when children have a talkative caregiver, they're going to learn by age 18 months, they're going to learn about 181 more vocabulary words than a child that's around a not as talkative caregiver. By age 2, they learn 295 words. And I think by age 5, it's like 1,500 more words than their friends that maybe have not been around a talkative caregiver. So we all know that early sounds wire in the brain during the first year of life between the 4th and 8th months. And those neural connections or pathways are forged for their child's native language by, really early on. So we know this as caregivers. We need to talk. We need to give the vocabulary, express our feelings, have them express theirs, but also self-expression must pass into communication for its fulfillment. So what can you do to boost communication skills? First of all, use descriptive vocabulary. The more attributes you use, the clearer the sentence is to the listener, and the more vocabulary they learn, and the more information you're giving them about that big red ball, that big red soft ball, right? Always listen with interest and be fully present. And if you can, reflect back to the child what they said to you. That really shows respect and that you did listen to them and you heard them. Expand vocabulary through books and songs. Teach the purpose of written communication. And we want children to understand that print has meaning. We want them to understand that they can communicate through print, whether it's drawing pictures, scribbling, just doing a few letters, drawing, painting, lots of different ways. But a fun thing to do is to provide an author's chair for children to share what they've written. And each and every day they can lay something in the chair, maybe once a week, however you want to set it up. And then they can explain to the group of children what they wrote or drew and express what that means. And they get to be an author. And it could, like I said, depending on the age, it might just be a bunch of letters, but they'll tell you they know exactly what those letters mean, right? All right, so the ways that you can reflect back on communication and have them think about those skills is say, what happens when you ask for something but you don't describe it very well? Do you get what you want? What happens when you don't receive clear directions? Do you know what to do then? Is it harder to figure out what to do? And then ask them how they want other people, or how would they know what other people are thinking if they didn't tell them with words. And of course, this is thinking about facial expressions or body language or tone of voice. And it's children read a lot just from body language, from what we're trying to get across, good and bad, right? All right. So cooperation is a willingness and ability to work with others. And a child shows the ability to cooperate when they share their toys without being told, or they take turns. They relate to the feelings and concerns of others, and they respond to those social cues. They might be able to negotiate and resolve conflicts with others. And if you've set that up in the environment, it's going to make it easier for them. And they work collaboratively on a project with others. We may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat, right? Working together. So how can you boost cooperation skills? You can discuss things that require cooperation and play games that promote cooperative effort. You can talk about things running more smoothly when we cooperate with each other and we help each other. You can do that by having group projects available for children to work on together. You can comment on how work is done easily when several people are helping. And I have a little story. It's an Aesop fable, actually. Gosh, when was the last time you heard an Aesop fable, right? And it's called The Farmer and His Quarrelsome Sons. A farmer asked his quarrelsome sons to place a bunch of sticks before him. After his sons placed the sticks before him, the farmer bound the sticks together and challenged his sons, one after one, to pick up the bundle of sticks and break them. They all tried, but in vain. Then the farmer untied the bundle and gave the son the sticks to break one by one. They did this with the greatest of ease. Then the father said, "Remember, my sons, as long as you remain united, you are a match for anything, but differ and separate, and you are undone." And the moral here is the strength in unity, right? And working together on something. And so just having children work on those group projects helps them in a lot of different categories, cooperation and empathy and all the things that we've talked about already. Okay, so how can you reflect on cooperativeness by asking children questions? You might just say, hey, why is cleanup easier when everyone helps? What's the difference there? Or what things are more fun to do with a friend? Right? Some things really just, you need a friend to be on a teeter-totter or play certain games, right? What things are you unable to do by yourself? And really get them thinking about how they do need that help and that they can work together to achieve some things. So those are the 7 essential skills for school success. We know that children who are confident, curious, intentional, self-controlled, relatable, cooperative, and communicative have the essential school skills for school success and really life success, right? This is for life. What you're doing right now is setting the foundation for lifelong skills at a very important, where the windows of opportunity are the most important times in a child's life. All right, so I have another poll question here. Which of these essential skills are you most excited about teaching to children now that you've heard some information about them? Is it confidence, curiosity, intentionality, relationship skills, or cooperation? We have a couple of seconds here. It looks like relationships is ahead of the pack here, along with curiosity. So hopefully you can see those percentages, but relationships are what you're most excited about teaching to children now, and curiosity and confidence. And a lot of these really are intermingled, aren't they? Right? They cross over and they work together for sure. All right. Almost done here. I just wanted to mention that Frog Street has professional development, and we offer professional development in skill-based content areas like social emotional learning, math, literacy, STEAM, leadership, early brain development, developmentally appropriate practice, family engagement, a lot of different content areas. If you want to find out more information about Frog Street, we do have this new curriculum for pre-K, but we also have infant, toddler, threes, and all of them include social emotional development. They all include the conscious discipline routine that I went over, but also the author who wrote the book on 7 essential skills is the senior author on all the curriculum. So she used all of this information just throughout the curriculum. And you can either contact Frog Street to get an area executive. And I do have coming up after we do some questions and answers, a QR code that you can do. So why don't I go ahead and just give you that now so I don't forget. You can scan this QR code to go to our website, or you can visit frogstreet.com/talk to frogstreet / and that way you can find out who an AE is in your area. How do you help a child that's having a problem being able to self-regulate? Definitely do that routine. Help them, first of all, sing and move to get off that edge, right? But then teach them how to breathe and teach them how to connect with other children so that they feel included and important and secure. And then talk about rules and review those rules. And because sometimes we tell children, here's this rule, and they really don't even know what it means. So if you say to a child, use walking feet, but you see them running throughout the day, you want to say, okay, so boys and girls, what does walking feet look like? Can somebody demonstrate that for me? And you want to review that. We ask children to follow rules, but sometimes we don't ever go back to those rules, or we don't explain them thoroughly enough or demonstrate them. You want to make sure children know how to. So teaching those self-regulation, helping them express their feelings. Let's see, you don't need to do brain start before breakfast. You could, you could do a song. It might be hard to move, and I'm not sure if you'd want to sing and move while the children are eating, but you could talk about some things, but really you need to being able to breathe, and maybe a connection activity. They might be able to talk with each other at breakfast, but not do an individual connection. So I would do it right after breakfast. I think that would be better. Let's see, what other questions do we have here? Speaking with parents about social emotional skills, I think the more information and articles that you can share. There's another book called How to Raise Emotionally Healthy Children by Gerald Newmark, and he talks about the 5 critical emotional needs that all children need, like feel important, secure, included, respected. Always forget the 5th one. You might Google the Children's Project and just talk to parents about what are those skills and just share that with them. Maybe we don't talk about social emotional learning. We just talk about, what's healthy. What are some healthy ways to teach children or to relate to children? And then the author's name was Dr. Pam Schiller, Schiller, and I think it's in the chat somewhere. I believe that Regina put it in there with the title and the publisher. I think that's the one you were referring to. or of the quote just read. Oh gosh, I'm not sure which quote I just read on that. And then it's Bruce Perry, not Sperry. It's Perry. And it was a 2001 research project. So I would just Google Bruce Perry 2001. And the name of the book where I just read that chart on curiosity was Dr. Pam Schiller's 7 Essential Skills for School Success, which is in the chat box. You know, I'm not sure if you had the book, you could certainly use it however you wanted. I would just give reference to Dr. Pam Schiller just like I did, that she's the author of this information. And the way to get your certificate, I think I'm going to go over that in the next slide. And this information can apply to kindergarten teachers as well. I know the conscious discipline is used in a lot of elementary school buildings with great success. There's even high school teachers that use conscious discipline routines. So, but as far as the stories, you might Google stories in each of those categories that are for older children. I want to thank you all for attending. It was great spending time with you today. I hope that you learned some really practical skills and strategies that you can take back and maybe even use tomorrow. I feel like it's really important when we put things into action right away. And, I don't know about you, but I need to do that because my memory. All right. Well, thank you so much for attending once again. I wish you well. Have a great school year and go forth and do all the wonderful things that I know you're already doing and you're capable of doing. So thanks so much. Bye, everyone.